So not many people know this, but I was one of the youngest managers in one of the UK's largest telecoms companies back around 16 years ago. So I joined the telecoms company straight out of school. So I was 16, 17 and joined on an apprenticeship scheme. And within a couple of years, I'd had the opportunity to cover some management roles. And by the time I was 21, I got my first permanent leadership role. And if I'm honest, I haven't looked back, and I've been in leadership roles ever since. Whilst it was pretty unprecedented at the time, so when I think back to the time that I did get promoted, it was very uncommon for someone that was so young to be trusted to move into leadership. It historically had been a seniority thing, so the more senior you were, the more skilled at the role, then the more likely it was that you was going to be promoted to manage a team. Now that didn't happen by accident, and I want to share some of the things that I did that really made me stepping into leadership so young, so possible. So the first thing that I truly believe is game changing for anyone that does want to step into a leadership role is to make sure that your basics and behaviours is absolutely spot on. So when it comes to basics, your start time, your finish time, your performance in the role, don't be someone that looks to take the shortest route all the time. Be thorough, be awesome, and just do what you're needed to do. And you don't have to set the world alight. It's not about setting the world alight, but it's about being extremely consistent with the way that you work and the way that you go about doing your work. And that kind of brings me on to behaviours. So I've always had a positive outlook when I'm at work. I always try to look at the positive side of any change, any decision, and I feel that that really set me up well when it comes to moving into leadership. In order to be able to be offered a role or be offered an opportunity, people need to trust you. They need to trust that you're going to do a great job and you're going to deliver a great message. And if you're someone that's constantly negative and constantly talking behind people's backs or talking negatively of the company, you're just not going to get given that opportunity. So again, on reflection, I believe that basics and behaviours, some of the most critical things that you need to focus on to get right before you can even consider what that next step would be. Now, once and you've got that nailed, the next most important thing, and this is going to sound so simple, is to tell your manager that you are interested in moving into a leadership role. Now, a lot of people don't like to put themselves out there, but the way that I managed to move into my first leadership role so quick was because I spoke with my manager at the time and told him exactly what I wanted. Following the period of cover, I said that this is definitely something that I wanted to go into moving forward, and I definitely saw myself being someone that could lead teams in the future. And then with that, he asked me to cover him every time he was on annual leave, or if there was a meeting that he couldn't attend, he would always put me forward and suggest that I go. And that really started helping me build relationships. So not just with my manager, who would then confide in decisions with myself, but also his manager and his peers. It put me in a really strong place. So by having some of those really upfront conversations, my intent was clear, and the way that he and I then worked together moving forward meant that I was able to put myself in a position that when a role did come up, I was trusted not just by him, but by his manager and by everyone around the leadership team. And it wasn't a shock to the team when I did become the manager, because again, I'd made sure that my basics and behaviours were spot on. They were good, they were awesome. They couldn't point the finger and go, but you cut this corner or you cut that corner. It was, Ross is pretty stand up, and it just worked. So by getting the basics and behaviours spot on, and by telling my manager that I wanted to move into leadership, were two extremely powerful moves that I made early on in my career. And the third one, and it kind of is a bit of a segue from the second point, but you kind of need to work into the line manager above. You can have the best reputation with your boss, but ultimately it's not him that's going to be hiring into that role, it's going to be his boss. So you need to make sure that you're a credible person and someone that, when it comes to it, you are the front of your second line manager's mind. And that comes through doing projects, putting your hand up to take on some additional responsibility, lead roles, all of those good things that enable you to operate at a slightly higher level. It's those things that if you start doing them early and you start doing them well and you do them over time, you build credibility, and when it does finally come to go for one of the leadership roles, you are literally just the first name on the list. Yes, you'll have to go through the interview process and do all of that good stuff, but ultimately you're putting yourself in the shop window from early, ensuring your behaviours are right, your relationships are good, and trust is high. And I think if you can make sure that those things are true and consistent, you're going to move yourself into that leadership role sooner than you think. Appreciate your time, and I will catch you on my next video.